Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, everybody. My name is Peter. Um, hello, hello. I'm one of the elders here at Genesis. And at this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order to make it formal and official. And I really would like to just thank you all for being here. I love that I see a lot of people outside. It's a beautiful day. And the fact that you took some minutes to help us making decisions, important decisions to the future of our church. It means a lot to us as elders, and in name of our leadership. So thank you. We're super excited. There is a lot for us to cover today. We're gonna have an agenda that we're gonna have to approve. I just wanna set some rules here. The agenda that it's going to come up in the screen in a few seconds is the only portion of the whole meeting they're not going to be on the ballot for us to approve. I'm going to give us a few minutes to review the agenda, and once we all feel comfortable about it, we will decide on approving the agenda or adding new topics to the agenda. The link just came up on the chat, so I'll give you a few seconds. To review the agenda, there are three main topics that we're going to be voting on today. We're going to be voting on the budget for the next fiscal year, the candidates for the nominating committee, and also new elders, which we are all super excited about. All right, I'll give you about 30 seconds to a minute to review the agenda. Okay. So here is one thing that we got to do before we approve this agenda. I would like to open up to you, people of Genesis, in case you have any other topics that you'd like to add to the agenda today, or if you have any questions that you'd like to discuss before we approve the agenda. If you do so, I would like you either can raise your hand or you can put an emoji, and we will get you, unmute you, and you can collaborate. So with that, any topics to be added to the agenda at this point? I'm looking on the screens. You can also chat if you have a topic that you'd like to discuss. We'll get to it. Nope, I don't see anything. Whoa, my dreads. I'm getting used to it. Somebody mentioned on the chat. Yeah, still kind of weird. But anyhow, we are not going to discuss my dreads on the agenda today. So with that, if there are no other topics, I am going to make a motion to approve the agenda today. Can somebody second me? Awesome. Thanks, Cassandra. Thank you so much. Great. You can always reference the agenda that we just posted link. There are also links for the nominated committee candidates and also for the elders. They're the candidates for this meeting, so you can reference that. And with that said, I'm going to move the mic to Linda, who is going to give us introductions on those candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, Genesis. This year, I've had the privilege of serving as co-chair of the nominating committee, along with Elder Representative Katie Troughton. It's been a joy to serve with her and alongside members Chad Knotts, Betsy Hines, John Powell, and Steve Weens. I'm thankful for each one and grateful for what each brings to the nominating committee, as well as to Genesis. According to the bylaws of Genesis Covenant Church, the nominating committee shall be responsible for nominations to fill the offices of the elder team, the at-large members of the nominating committee, and any other positions assigned to it either by the elder team or congregation. One or more candidates for the office of elder team shall be nominated by the nominating committee. One or more candidates for the office of at-large members of the nominating committee shall be nominated. The elder team shall comprise of not less than 4 nor more than 8 members, in addition to the senior pastor. 3 of our 7 elders will be completing their terms on June 30th, Mike Chamberlain, Deb Link, and Andrew Lonsberry. And with that, our first task this year was to recommend between 1 and 4 elder candidates to join the elder team on July 1st. Since early February, the nominating committee has been going through a discernment process in order to recommend individuals to join the elder team. Members of Genesis, including current nominating committee members, were invited to recommend potential elder candidates. An email was sent to each one, letting them know that they had been recommended and asking each to prayerfully consider whether they would be interested in being considered as a potential candidate at this time. In their responses, some were not interested, others felt it was not the right season for them due to either responsibilities or life events, and some expressed interest in being considered. Each person who expressed interest in being considered as a potential candidate was asked to respond to several questions via email and later invited to participate in further conversation with 2 nominating committee members. Throughout this process, the nominating committee has prayerfully considered which potential candidates we believe have the characteristics and skill sets the elder team needs most at this time. 4 candidates are being recommended by the nominating committee to join the elder team: Rexanne Brew, Cassandra DeBoer, Andrew Lonsberry, and Steve Shawning. Andrew will be completing his first term as an elder this year and expressed interest in being considered for a second term. An informational sheet was emailed and the link is in the chat as mentioned earlier. Later in tonight's meeting, Genesis members will vote on each of the 4 candidates to join the elder team. All 4 must be voted in separately with a 2/3 vote of the members present at tonight's annual meeting, and all 4 may join the elder team if voted in. Those voted in will begin their 3-year terms July 1st, joining current elders Pam Hack, Peter Rodriguez, Jerry Timperley, Katie Troughton, and Steve Weens. The nominating committee has also had the task this year to recommend individuals to join the nominating committee, as Chad Knotts and I will complete our terms on June 30th. The nominating committee consists of 1 elder team member, the senior pastor, and at least 2, but no more than 5 at-large members. In this nomination process, Genesis members, including current nominating committee members, were invited to recommend individuals to be considered as potential nominating committee members. An email was sent to each person to let them know that they had been recommended and asked them to respond, letting us know whether or not they were interested in being considered. Responses were received from several members who expressed interest in being considered. The nominating committee prayerfully considered which 1 to 3 potential candidates would be recommended. The 3 candidates who are being recommended as nominating committee members are Rajan Brown, Hannah Twyman, and Brianna Witt. Their pictures and short bios were also emailed, and once again, the link to the informational sheet is in the chat. Later in tonight's meeting, Genesis members will vote on each of the 3 candidates to join the nominating committee. Each of the 3 must be voted in separately with a majority vote of the members present at tonight's annual meeting, and each may join the nominating committee if voted in. Those voted in will begin their 2-year terms on July 1st, joining nominating committee members Betsy Hines, John Powell, Elder Representative Katie Troughton, and Steve Weens. As mentioned before, voting will take place later in this meeting, and instructions will be given at that time. Now we will hear from Pam Hack, Chair of the Elder Team.
Thanks, Linda. Well, good evening, everyone. As Linda said, I'm chairperson of the Elder Board, and I wanted to introduce the other officers of the board. We just recently at our last meeting elected Katie Troughton as our vice chair. That position has been open and I'm thrilled to have her as a partner. Mike Chamberlain has been acting as our secretary for the last year, and we thank him so much for those efforts that go into that. He is stepping down, so we'll be electing a new secretary at the next meeting. And that leaves the other remaining board members that Linda talked about, Peter, Jerry Temperley, and Steve Weeds. And a big thanks to Deb Link as well, who's stepping down off the board. So that's who your elder team is. I have the honor and the privilege of doing a little bit of a review of the past year. And what a year it was, right? A year like no other. We faced major and unexpected challenges over the past year. We navigated new ways of how we worship together, how we fellowship, how we respond and contend with the racial and political tensions that have plagued our city and our nation. From the new virtual pulpit, we struggled and learned to understand and cope with the world around us, and to clarify how we as individuals and the Genesis congregation could respond in a loving and constructive way. I'd like to take a moment early on to extend a huge thank you and recognize our amazing staff for their above and beyond creativity and dedication as we coped with the year that was. Steve, Allie, Rebecca, Terry earlier in the year, Will more recently, you guys are awesome and we appreciate you more than you can ever know. Thank you. Now I'd like to reflect on a few highlights from the year. It was a year. And Larissa from earlier in the year. Thank you, Will. That's true. Our staff and key volunteers successfully transitioned to virtual worship over the last year, as you all know. They did an incredible job of managing through the technological challenges, creatively producing a structure to Sunday mornings that encouraged involvement and participation. We had worship videos, kids' sermons, all plays. We read scripture from a distance, did the doxology, prayer, virtual narthex, and more. And more recently, our creative and technical wizards are navigating us through the return process, not only coming back into the sanctuary, but moving to a hybrid worship that allows both video and in-person participation. I've seen the crew it takes to accomplish this on Sunday mornings and the planning that went into it. You all are amazing. While we were doing virtual church, the staff provided a wonderful array of opportunities for us to be together while we were apart. We saw staycation, learning labs, kids hangouts, Advent and Lent kits, so much more. The positive and appreciative comments from you all confirm. Steve and staff, once again, thank you. You knocked it out of the park. Last spring, after much discussion and soul searching, we voted as a congregation to transition away from the Evangelical Covenant Church. We did so with sadness, but knowing our strong desire and ability to be an inclusive and welcoming community would be greatly diminished under the ECC's governing authority. We're leaving on relatively good terms with the denomination and with almost unanimous support from our congregation. That is no small feat. Well done, Genesis. Now we look ahead to what affiliation and/or denomination might be right for us. But we go into that discovery process with a better idea of who we are as a congregation and how we are endeavoring to grow into our best selves. We won't rush into a new relationship. We'll take our time. We'll find a good fit. There was one low point, which ended up being an opportunity for us to show who we are and what we're made of. After just a month of online services, we experienced a shocking and traumatic Zoom bomb, which created fear about using Zoom for worship. We created space to grieve and process, and we switched platforms so we could continue to worship interactively, something that is so much a part of our DNA. Several months later, we switched back to Zoom with stronger security measures in place and good participation, both live and on YouTube. We learned that we can do hard things, that we can cultivate our uniqueness, even while radically shifting how we worship. And we learned we can change when we need to. Last spring, we applied for and were granted a $37,000 PPP loan, providing a much needed cushion to ensure we could continue to operate and make payroll throughout the pandemic. In February of this year, that loan was forgiven. Early this year, we applied for and were selected for a 2-year learning opportunity with an organization called the Riverside Innovation Hub. This 2-year journey, alongside several other local congregational partners, will enable us to hone our skills and abilities to be more deeply engaged in our community. The purpose is to equip us to be active in mutual relationships with our neighborhood and our neighbors in ways that promote the well-being and thriving of the larger community. And I quote from their invitation letter, "This opportunity looks like neighbors experiencing good news, Christ's love, resurrection, hope, and reconciliation in ways that truly matter in their lives." You'll be hearing more about this exciting opportunity in the coming days and weeks as we begin to engage. One thing I'd like to point out personally, those of you that know me know I get frustrated with all the talk about what we're fixing to do. The needs are great and the time is short. My bias is always to jump in and get started. We can learn as we go. Our intent is to use this learning opportunity to equip us and guide us as we go, to be able to utilize our planned outreaches and ministries as case studies in this apprenticeship, and to lean on our academic relationships for guidance and support as we step out into our community in this post-pandemic world of ours. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge and welcome the folks who have begun to build their home at Genesis without ever stepping onto the property at Elam. We've enjoyed meeting you virtually, and we can't wait to meet you in person in the coming weeks. Please be sure to introduce yourselves as you make your way into our in-person community. We look forward to getting to know you better. Phew, it's been quite a year. And for Steve, it's been 7 years of leading, preaching, counseling, and caring, and a couple of postponed sabbaticals. Before we head into our bright new future, we know that it's appropriate and necessary for Steve to take his well-deserved and long-awaited sabbatical, finally. Steve will be away from June 14th through September 14th, resting, learning, traveling, and relaxing. He'll no doubt return refreshed and renewed and even better equipped to lead us in our charge. We've spent a long year necessarily focused inward. We are now at the precipice of our coming out party. We are poised as a congregation to meet the challenges in our midst head on. We are blessed with an amazing staff, financial security, a large and well-placed facility at our disposal, and most important, all of you who make up this crazy, caring, creative, and distinctly quirky church. Thankfully, 2020 is behind us. I look forward to our next year together with a great deal of hope, enthusiasm, and confidence that we are living into our holy calling and our mission to join God's work of cultivating new beginnings in all of us, everywhere. And now I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Pam. Hey, really, thank you, Pam. And I want to say that in front of everybody. You have provided so much steady leadership and calls to action this year that Genesis needed so desperately. There were so many times where we had to pivot quickly and we didn't know quite what to do. And so Pam, your steady leadership is so appreciated, especially by me. So everybody, let's give it up for Pam. Pam is such a gifted leader. Way to go. Well, this is the portion of the night where the senior pastor gets to give a report, and basically about anything the senior pastor wants to give a report about. And as I looked over my notes over the past 7 years, I've talked about all kinds of different things. But tonight, I briefly want to share a couple of stories. One is a couple of months ago, the elder team was meeting. And maybe this was more than a couple of months ago, because I remember we were outside on Pam's deck. We took advantage of that when the weather was nice. So it must have been more than a couple of months. But we were in this conversation and we were talking about Genesis, and people kept saying, well, we're this way or we're that way. We're welcoming. We're not welcoming to certain people. We are welcoming to others. And at some point in the conversation, I had this question come up in my mind. And the question was, who's we? Who's we? When we talk about Genesis, are we talking about the members? Are we talking about the staff? Are we talking about that elusive core group of people that some people are magically a part of and other people are not a part of? Are we talking about the second or third or fourth tier out? Are we talking about why are we even having tiers? And I think that's a really compelling question right now. Who's we? I think it's a question we need to ask and answer. 7 years ago, I spent a lot of time meeting with people individually during the months of March, April, and May. And every single one of the people I met with that I invited to become a part of Genesis, I had some very specific questions. Are you willing to give financially? Are you willing to serve once a month? Are you willing to call Genesis your home church? And there was a couple other questions who now I don't even remember what they were, but I asked them to every single person. And each conversation we had, I heard stories. And I got a chance to share my story. And there was this level of engagement that went back and forth. And I remember that like that was really like it was 5 minutes ago. It's so clear in my mind, those conversations that I had. And then those meetings that we had in the Patton's backyard, where we shared communion together and where the kids jumped on the trampoline. And we began to imagine what it would be like for a community of people to embody this vision, to join God's work of cultivating new beginnings. And as we began to talk, we began to realize that we couldn't just talk about new beginnings. We actually had to like recruit people to be on the tech team and recruit people to be on kids ministry teams. And we had a welcome team and a communications team and a worship team. And it was really all hands on deck, and because it had to be, because it was the beginning. And as we marched closer toward that first day at Sabus Jewish Community Center, none of us knew what was going to happen. But all of us knew that we. There was this launch team, and there was a number of people on the launch team. There were 60 adults and about 40 kids. And that was we. And someone asked me early on, like, hey, do you think you'll ever plant another church after Genesis? And I was like, oh no, there will never be another church after Genesis that I will plant. And then recently, more than one person, I'm in touch with a lot of pastors these days, and we just brainstorm. We talk about like, what is life like for you during the pandemic, after the pandemic? And more than one of them have said, gosh, doesn't this kind of feel like planting a church all over again? Where we're doing right now. And I thought about some of the nights we've spent with those amazing volunteers that have helped us get our live stream going again, and figuring out all kinds of new technology and the staff trying to figure out like, hey, how do we get people together during a pandemic when no one's supposed to be together? Let's do backyard parties. Let's do watch parties. Let's do a virtual pageant. You guys remember the virtual pageant and how awesome that was? And tell me, like, don't we need to do that every year, whether we can be in person or not? There were so many new things, right? That when these people say to me, it kind of feels like planting again, doesn't it? I have to admit that it does. I have to admit it does. So we don't totally know like who will show up when we open our doors, you know, again. We have really, like, as a staff, it kind of hit us a few weeks ago that we kind of looked at each other and said, like, we don't really have any volunteers left. Because we really didn't need any, you know, during virtual. And so all that to say, you guys, here we are. This is we. This is we. And the only things that we'll be able to get done this year, we have a list of things that we want to get done, including loving and serving Robbinsdale, starting in middle school ministry, really leaning into our LGBTQIA inclusion statement, including welcoming more people in, joining a denominational, we're forming a new committee to look at denominational and network possibilities. And we're also going to be really leaning into doing hybrid worship well. All 5 of those things, including getting our kids ministry up and running again, will require it will require us. The staff is going to keep giving our all. The elders will as well. We're going to keep giving all we got. But let me say it in no uncertain terms. We just need you. We need all of you. We need you, not to kill yourselves on the altar of church, but to commit to serving about once a month, doing something. So we're going to make that clear to you what those possibilities are, but they do include serving in kids ministry. They do include maybe being a youth ministry leader for our new middle school ministry, maybe jumping on board with this Love and Serve Robbinsdale team. There's going to be lots of different opportunities, but I want to ask you some questions. One is, what's your capacity like right now? Now, for some of you, your body is traumatized because of the year of COVID. And so I get it. You need more time. And that is 100% legit. So get honest about what's your real capacity right now. But I want to ask you that. What's your capacity? Number 2, what feels life-giving when it comes to engaging in our church? What feels like, yeah, I could do that. And that actually feels fun. Is it about loving and serving Robbinsdale? Is it about leaning into our inclusion statement? Is it kids ministry? Is it middle school ministry? Is it the tech team? Is it the worship team? Is it this denominational team? And then can you think about it and let us know how you can help? Because again, we can only do that which we are invested in doing. And the staff and elders are very committed to not overextending ourselves where there is not investment. So where there is investment, robust investment, both in terms of volunteer and in terms of financial investment, we're going to move into all those things with lots of love and joy, but we need everybody. We is we. So let's, and if you feel like you're kind of on the 2nd tier or 3rd tier, honestly, just let me know, let one of the staff know, let one of the elders know, and we will remedy that, honestly. And because there need to be no more tiers. There just need to be us moving together toward our mission. Amen. All right, people, that was the pastor's report. Now I'm going to hand it over to Andrew Lonsberry, who actually, before I do that, I want to say a huge thank you to Deb, Link, and Mike Chamberlain, who are ending their terms and stepping off. They have done such an amazing job in each of their ways. Mike providing really skilled secretarial duties, to be honest, and that's a thankless task. But also just Mike has provided so many wise words, and at times slowing us down, at times speeding us up. So thank you, Mike. And Deb, just so often helping us see the minority opinion, so often helping us understand what we can't understand, slowing us down so that we see the whole picture, the big picture, and everyone, so that no one's left out. So thank you, Deb and Mike. And now huge props over to Andrew Lonsberry. Andrew is our financial officer, and I just can't imagine life at Genesis without him. He's such a steady Eddie, and he provides such great vision in terms of our finances. So let me turn it over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, everybody. Excited to talk about money with you. So maybe the best way to do that is want to invite you to go back to the agenda and open that back up and go to the second page. And that's where we've kind of laid out the budget for the year, and you can navigate to that, and then you don't have to look at me, which is kind of nice. You can look at the numbers and give folks just a second or two to get there. And then I'm basically just going to kind of walk us through this and add some commentary around what you see in the agenda. So again, we're on the second page of the agenda, starting with the fiscal year 2021 review. It's really a review of the first 10 months. We have financials through the month of April. So this does not include May or June. But as you look at it, and as you can see, we, starting at the top, a little over 240,000 in tithes and offerings and gifts. Just want to reiterate again what I shared a couple weeks ago on a Sunday morning, if you were there. Just so grateful for the way that many of you have continued to give. And I know many have given in when they're completely uncertain what their finances look like and what the future holds. And yet you continue to give. So thank you so much. You can see tithes and offerings versus expenses. We had a net income of negative 14,500 or so. Then if you look at the next line down, we actually expected that. Or I don't know if we expected it. I don't know if we knew what to expect, but we budgeted right about that. Our variance to budget is minuscule, just about $350 or maybe 0.1% within budget. That I call a win for a year of uncertainty, for a year of just not knowing what to expect. It's a thanks to you all who continued to give. It's a thanks to the staff who managed expenses really well in times of uncertainty. So, you know, if you're not a budget or a finance person, the bottom line is we so far at 10 months into the year are kind of right on track for what we planned. And we had a planned deficit, as you can see. We started to see in last spring, as the pandemic was really hitting, we were seeing a drop in tithes and offerings. We were at about $27,000, $28,000 a month. That went down to $21,000, $22,000 a month in March and April of last year. We set the budget at right about $24,000 a month, and we crept back up and we kind of hovered around that. And then, as I shared on May 2nd on the Sunday service, that we started to dip back below, and I'll talk about that in a second. But with the PPP loan that got forgiven of about $37,000 that Pam mentioned earlier, that did a couple things that gave us the ability to really budget a deficit, and it also improved our cash balance. So starting this year, or prior to the PPP loan, I should say, we had about $85,000 of cash in the bank. And then if you take the net of the $37,000 that we got through that program, less the 15,000 or so deficit we've run so far this year, we have a cash balance of about 110,000, or about 4.5 months of our run rate. So we feel really good about that. It's about as strong as Genesis has been in recent memory in terms of cash position. So all in all, we're kind of right on track with our budget, and we're in a healthy cash position. So that's kind of the look at the year to date. And now I want to change gears and go down to that next section, the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And what you're really looking at is that column highlighted in yellow. That's what we're proposing. And we wanted to show how that compares to the year that we're currently in, or 10 months into, and show the change there. So we're proposing $324,000 in tithes and offerings for the year. And as you can see, that's about a 10% increase from what's from this current year. And really, as things are starting to open back up and we're getting back to Elam, and we're kind of figuring out what that looks like, we are prayerful, hopeful, and inviting that we would kind of get back to where we were pre-pandemic in terms of tithes and offerings. We've budgeted in a way that from July till January, we would step up from where we are now, which is about 24,000 a month, and get back to 28,000 a month. So we don't expect that would happen overnight, but that's why we've kind of stair-stepped it up until January. So that's the logic behind the 324,000. On the expense side, increasing the budget just slightly, a little over 2%, to 317,818,000. And that number is important. And just a reminder on the way that Genesis is set up in our bylaws and our constitution. The elders and the staff, basically that all-in number, expenses are not to exceed that next year, unless we were to come back to the congregation, hold a meeting like this, or call a meeting, a special meeting to propose a budget amendment where we would present the reason and the case and ask to raise that number. And that's something that we'd take another vote like we are tonight to approve that. So that 317,818 number is really important for that very reason. As you can see, when you look at the net income, it's changing from last year, a proposed deficit of a loss of about 17,000 to getting back to the positive. So we're presenting a balanced budget with a small surplus for next year. So those are just numbers. And as you look down, what does it mean? What does it allow us to do? What's behind these numbers? I've just kind of summarized some headlines that are worth noting, and really what's at the essence of the proposed budget. Again, tithes and offerings increasing back to the pre-pandemic levels. That's really key and core to this budget. So as I shared on a couple weeks ago on Sunday, we need to raise our budget by about 5,000 or 5,500 or so from where we're at in March, at the end of April. And some good news there. I think even since that message and that invitation, we've already started to see some momentum and some movement. 8 families have stepped up and either increased their gift or started a new recurring giving plan if they weren't giving regularly before. So that's really encouraging. All in, that's a little short of $1,000. That's kind of raised our monthly budget, monthly goal. So we're already 20% of the way there from where we started, and just a big thank you, and also an invitation if you're listening now and you've been thinking about it, or you're hearing this for the first time, an invitation to invest financially in what we're doing, and invest in the life of the church. So you can go to genesiscov.org/give, and you can make adjustments to your plan. You can cancel your old one and start a new one is how you would do that. And if you're giving for the first time, you can set up a new giving plan right on the website. So I invite you to do that. What do these resources go to? What's on the expense side of this? And maybe one of the most exciting ones is a deeper investment in our youth ministry, in our kids and teens. And Steve mentioned, really launching a new teen ministry program. There's resources in the budget to do that. Most namely, it would be what's proposed is that January 1st, if we're able to get the tithes and the revenues up, we would make our kids and teens director role, currently filled by Allie Lee. We would make that a full-time position, and we'd actually make that a pastoral position. So that's really exciting. And with the staffing of that, there's some increase in other expenses and resources and supplies and things of that nature to really fuel the kids and teens ministry. Now you might say, how are we adding a full-time position or raising Allie's hours and only seeing a budget increase of 2.2%? So I do want to point out that the position held by Larissa Crane, the operations director role, Larissa finished up that position in September and is enjoying having more time with her growing family. We've decided not to backfill that role, and those are big shoes. That was an important, very important position, and just want to call it out that that's one of the things that the whole staff team has really rallied behind to pick up a lot of those duties and responsibilities. And it's come with some added pressure and some added stress. So I want to thank the staff for really running with that, and Rebecca, you especially for stepping up and filling a lot of those roles. We talked about this, and is this sustainable, and can we do this? And the answer is yes, but probably not forever. And so I think with this budget that's proposed, should we exceed our revenue goals, or as we look to next year, if we won't have that stair step up, we'll hopefully be at a higher level. That would be our very next hire, or our very next add to our staff and to our expenses, is some kind of operations focused role to alleviate what a lot of the staff team has picked up. So want to call that out. That role is not in this budget, but it's a hope for the near future. You can see those other three headlines there. We've already started to invest in the live stream equipment and services. There's a cost that comes with that, and we think that's both the world we live in and part of what Genesis is just moving into. We're excited about people that have joined from all over the country and world, maybe through our online services, and we're excited to be able to continue to offer that avenue. We're doubling down on our missional partnerships. We're literally doubling the budget for missional engagement and opportunities. And it's been a fairly small part of our budget, and this is one step in increasing that substantially, but we'd like to keep investing in that more and more. And so that's reflected here as well. And then maybe on a slightly smaller note, we've made some adjustments with our bookkeeping. We're working with a private individual bookkeeper. We were with a outsourced firm, and so that seems to be going well. We're saving some money there on a month-to-month basis, and we're happy about that. I think that is what I wanted to share. Appreciate those of you who are not numbers or money people bearing with me, but that's the budget as proposed for next year. I think we'll have formal discussion when we do all of the votes, but if there's any informal discussion or quick questions or anything that needs to be drilled into now, certainly can open it up to the chat or raise your hand if you've got some clarifying questions or anything with the budget. All right, seeing none, it was either really clear or everybody's glazing over. but I'm getting some thumbs up. So last call, any informal discussion? Perfect. Well, with that, I will motion to submit the budget for action. And I think I hand it over to, do I hand it over to you, Peter?
Back to me. Thanks, Andrea. That was great. How's everyone doing? You doing good? Yeah? Awesome. So I think we are ready to do what we are here to do. We're gonna vote. Before we vote, there are just some little rules for us to put in place here. The first thing is how you're gonna vote. You're gonna get an email. You might have already gotten that email. I haven't checked my email personally, but there will be a ballot there for you to vote. You're gonna have a vote on the budget and each individual that's being nominated, either for the nominating committee or the elder team. This is one thing that you need to look out for, an email. The second thing is we are going to be discussing both budget and the candidates. So for the discussion on the budget, the candidates are still going to be with us here because we wanted them to participate on that conversation in case they have questions, or they can just participate and listen questions of others. But we're going to put you guys there being their candidates. We're going to put you in a waiting room once we are discussing about your nominations. So nothing personal, just a little bit, but we want to give an opportunity for the church to just, bounce some ideas and talk a little bit about your nomination. I've been there, is a little weird, but we have a lot of gracious people here. Yeah, so you will be invited back in once those discussions are over. With that, I'm gonna open up for discussions on the budget. As Andrew said, this is an official moment for anybody who has a question on the budget to raise your hand or put on the chat, and we're gonna get your question. You guys are too quiet today.
I was just impressed at our 0.01 estimate in between. We both enjoy spreadsheets, so we were both very impressed by that. No questions great, otherwise.
Great. Yeah. All right. At this time, we're going to start the discussion on the elder and nominating committee candidates. So I think somebody is going to start pulling you guys out of the discussion. I'll give a few seconds for that to happen. All right, I still see some screens kind of popping out. Give another 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Whomever is behind the scene managing that, I don't want to put you in any pressure. So just give me a thumbs up whenever we're ready. We good? All right. Let's start with the nominating committee. Any questions, any concerns, any considerations that any of this community here on Zoom would like to discuss. If you need the candidates, the document that was shared a little bit earlier, it should be available. Oh, there you go. Thanks. Thanks for posting again. And that's the elder team links. Last year, it took forever. I felt like you guys were talking about all sorts of things and everybody's so quiet today. All right, let's talk about the elders specifically. Any questions, any concerns, anything that comes to mind that you'd like to discuss? I don't see anything. Okay. Glad to know that you are just as happy as I am. They're great candidates. I'm really excited. So with that said, we're gonna bring them back in, and once they are with us, we're gonna start our voting process. Steve, can I just ask you or someone on the staff just to confirm that the email has been sent for the ballot? Can you give me a thumbs up? Perfect. Awesome. All right. With that said, it's going to take about 10 minutes. Okay. So right now is 3 to 8. Let's plan on around 8:10 to be back. I should have the results by then, and we're going to announce those results. All right. Go get your email, and yeah, happy voting.
We can lift our hands to heaven. 'cause every time we worship, we see your face, we see your face, we see your face, we see your face, we see your face. There is no one like you, Lord, you, Lord. There is no one like you, Lord, you, Lord. There is no one like you, Lord, you, Lord. Sing it one more time. There is no one like you, Lord, you, Lord. There is none like you. Who can know my heart like you do? For all creation sings your song. I will join with them, declaring your glory. Oh. Found love that never runs dry, from the depths to the sky. Eyes fixed on the one who knows no end. Stand strong for all of time, in the joy, in the trial. You are the beginning and the end. Your love goes on, your love goes on. Ever our heart will sing Jesus in everything. From sky to ocean deep, your love goes on. Through every rise and fall, we are forever yours. One thing we know is sure, your love goes on and on and on. Dawn break into the night, you're here with us, you're on our side. Your arms are forever open wide. We stand strong for all of time, in the joy, in the trial. You are the beginning and the end. Your love goes on, your love goes on. Ever our heart will seek Jesus in everything. From sky to ocean deep, your love goes on. never shaken. Hope awakens in you. You love unfailing, it's never shaken. Our hope awakens in you. Oh, love unfailing, never shaken. Hope awakens in you. You, ever our heart will seek Jesus in everything. From sky to ocean deep, your love goes on. Through every rise and fall, we are forever yours. One thing we know is sure, your love goes on. Ever our heart will seek Jesus in everything. From sky to ocean deep, your love goes on. Through every rise and fall, we are forever yours. One thing we know is sure, your love goes on and on and on.
All right, can you hear me now? Okay, I have the results. Drum rolling. Okay, so let's start with the budget. The budget has passed with 100% of votes. Thanks for your commitment, guys. God bless you. This is awesome. About the nominating committee votes, it has also passed. Congratulations. Congratulations. Elders. Uh-oh, I'm just kidding. It has passed. Welcome, new elders. Welcome. Super excited to work alongside with you guys. Congratulations. Great. This is so awesome. I feel so energized. I'm ready to go outside and enjoy a little bit of the evening. Before I close the meeting and adjourn, any questions? Is there anything that you guys have in mind right now and you want to talk about before we finish? All right. Happy to chat after the meeting. I'm sure Steve, Pam, Andrew are also going to be available. Linda, you can reach out to us. All right. With that, we are adjourned. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you.